I'm Maddie, and today we're going to be discussing...
Whoa, that wasn't safe at all.
Side Effects May Vary by Julie Murphy. That could have been bad. As you may be able to tell, my book jacket's a little rumpled. I don't even know why, because I took it off for the entirety of reading this book. This book is about a girl named Alice who was diagnosed with leukemia, and she thought she was terminal, so she made this bucket list of things to do that could be anything from helping out her neighbor and doing a kind deed to ruining someone's life. Surprise, surprise, Alice finds out she's in remission, and she has to live with a guilty conscience of hurting all these people, and she has to live and face these people every single day when she goes back to school. And the interesting thing about this book is that it was told in not only dual point of views, but then and now structure. So it's non-linear, and I went into this book thoroughly confused in the first 2 chapters because for some reason my mind skips over chapter titles, and in the first chapter it starts off with Alice Then, and I was reading that and I was like, what is this? But then the next chapter is Alice Now, and I didn't realize that until I went back and read the chapter titles, and it made sense. The skipping around of the timeline made it actually pretty interesting to me because I have not read something like this in a long time. I read If I Stay recently, which was sort of like this, but it wasn't broken up by chapter. It was kind of like a flashback in the middle of a chapter. If you didn't know, I read this book for the Side Effects May Vary live show that's going to be coming up on May 3rd at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this will be on Cassidy Von Shay's channel with me, Cassidy Von Shay, Whitney from Witty Novels, Katie from Cat Skywriter 24, Isabel from Belle K. Will, Kiera from Kiera Sole, and Carrie for Life. If you would like to, please pick up this book and read along with us. We actually have a Goodreads page you can go to and chat with us. We have a hashtag, so you can hashtag Side Effects Live Show on Twitter if you want to discuss this book with us as well. Come join us for the live show so you can see all of our thoughts on it. I would give this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I feel like I can't just give this a star rating, I need to give it a percentage as well, and I feel like this would be a solid 86% because I thought it was very good for a debut novel because the writing style is very rich and vivid. I can see things that are happening. It's just enough, but there's enough thought as well. Just there were some grievances I had with it. Alice, although just finding out that she's going to live, was very pessimistic and rude and manipulative with her friend Harvey. She just did some very rash things in this book that I didn't really like. It was real to me though. I know a lot of people disliked Alice's character, and I did too, but what I liked was that she was real. She had flaws. I love that because too often in YA, the main character is practically an angel who has never done anything wrong in her entire life, but Alice has done wrong. She has manipulated people. She has hated people. She has done so many things that make her human, and that's what made me almost sort of like her. I disliked her as a character, but I appreciated what she was. I also had a bit of an issue with how she treated her best friend. It's understandable to me because she had cancer, and so she thought she was going to be leaving him. She had feelings for Harvey. We find this out in like the 2nd chapter, so I'm not spoiling this for anyone, but she tells Harvey that she loves him, and she doesn't know how to deal with these feelings when she realizes that she's going to live. She thought she would die knowing that she loves him and he loves her, but when she has to face these feelings, she doesn't know how to handle it, and that's completely understandable because in the real world, lots of people love from afar, and they don't admit it when confronted with it, and I felt that was just so raw and real, and that's what made me like this book. The thing that turned this book around for me though was the ending, because there was so much character development happening. It was wonderful to see the transformation that Alice went on, because she started out as this character who was just weak and somewhat pathetic really in the way that she used people, and then she just became this wonderful main character at the end, and I felt that that was the best kind of change Julie Murphy could have put in this book, and I loved it. This book kind of hit me in a way that I didn't expect it to, because right after I picked it up, I found out that my cousin has lymphoma, so it kind of was hitting me in different ways, and it's not a bad form of cancer that he has, but it's treatable. It made me realize that there are so many people out there who are being diagnosed with something so difficult, and it just made me realize that there are so many people out there who are going through this issue. Cancer novels are usually upsetting, like The Fault in Our Stars, and this was a bit upsetting in some points too, but I think it's nice to showcase someone who has survived, who's gone into remission, because in The Fault in Our Stars, we know what happens if you've read it. It was nice to see someone go into remission, because we know not all cancer is untreatable, and you can survive it if you just fight it. If you haven't read this book, I would read it, and then I would come back so we can discuss it, and then I would also come back and watch our live show on May 3rd, so I will see you then. In the beginning of this book, when Alice saw her mom with that other guy, we didn't hear about it until like 60 pages from the ending. It was upsetting me throughout the book because I thought that Julie Murphy was going to leave that alone, because I know in some books authors like introduce this random thing and then they never come back into it, but the sign of a good author is that they'll bring up something and then tie it back into something else, and that's what Julie Murphy did. She tied it back into the ending, which really made me happy, because if we wouldn't have had closure about her mom and the guy she was cheating on Alice's dad with, it would have really upset me and probably would have made me give this book like a 2 stars or something, because something like that is just so major that we couldn't not find it out. But the way Alice's mom reacted to it really upset me. I liked when Alice threw the frying pan through the window. It was just frying pans, who knew, right? But I wanted to punch her mom in the face. What her mom said really ticked me off. I'm angry, and I don't think we should talk while either one of us still feels this way, but your father and I worked out our issues after you were diagnosed. I just needed you to know. And that little fit you threw was out of line. She stopped and took a deep breath, reining herself in. As soon as you're well enough to get a part-time job, you will be paying us back for that glass door. That's all I'm going to say now.
Like, well, you had cancer, and I cheated on your dad, but we're gonna pretend it never happened, and you don't have any right to be upset, because I worked out the issues with your father. I mean, like, in what realm does that make any sense? I mean,
her mom has issues, and clearly she needs to work out these issues. I mean, like, thankfully, toward the end of the book, we have some closure between Alice and her mom, and I like balancing this book on my head. It's quite fun. We finally have some closure between Alice and her mom. They have a little conversation, and like Alice says, though it's difficult at the time, it will grow, and that's like the first step into working things out with people. I mean, you need to be able to talk to them. You need to apologize. I'm so happy with the ending, though. Oh my goodness. It was just so great to finally see Alice do something nice for Harvey, because after she told him to leave, I was freaking out at that point. Maybe you were too, but I was just reading and
when she told him that he didn't matter to her and that she was using him the entire time, and she still didn't tell him she loved him, I wanted to
Not everyone wears their heart on their sleeve like Harvey does, and so it was very difficult for Alice to put her feelings out there, and in the end she did, but through her actions, because she wanted to find Harvey's dad and she could not, but she found his grandfather. That was just the sweetest thing ever. I'm so happy that she did that for him, because she finally gave him a small bit of closure, and then they finally hopefully got together in the end of this book. She's reconciled with people. She doesn't hate Celeste that much anymore, because Celeste and Luke broke up. That would have been a perfect opportunity for Alice and Celeste to team up to get back at Luke, but because Alice has seen the error in her ways, she's not going to do that anymore. She's not going to hold grudges. She's not going to try to ruin people's lives. Although the pranks she did pull on Luke and Celeste were hilariously evil. The points where she was going through chemo and being so frail and fragile, it hurt. A lot of this book hurt me in the heart. My aunt, who lives with me, and my mom and my brother, had cancer a couple years ago, and so I know what chemo does to people, and it just it was hitting me again and again. The idea of cancer scares me. That would be in my fear landscape, probably. Just death in general would be in my fear landscape, and so would needles and cracked iPhones and cars. Just everything would probably be in my fear landscape, because I am a scaredy cat, I swear. Did anyone else feel that Eric was a completely unnecessary character? He showed up, and I guess he was something for Alice to throw her feelings at, because she couldn't cope with her feelings for Harvey, but he shows up, and then maybe after 60 pages, leaves. And just, I didn't see the importance of him there. I guess that's kind of what made Harvey finally break, and decided to go out with Deborah instead of Alice because he felt that he couldn't get to her anymore, but it just, like, no. The points where we got to see the real Alice, though, the real human side of Alice, made me really happy, where they went to the abandoned amusement park and went in the teacups, and she was hanging out with Harvey, and they kissed for the first time. And then also when she bought the dog for the little girl across the street, probably the sweetest scene in this book. That's when we started to realize that her bucket list was not just to ruin people's lives who she disliked, and that made me start to like Alice. Although she had her flaws, she had her upsides, and I really, really enjoyed that. What did you think of Side Effects May Vary by Julie Murphy? I really enjoyed it. Tell me down below in the comments so we can discuss it. Also, once again, join us for the live show on May 3rd. I'm Maddie. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye. Actress Chloe Grace Moretz, who just so happens to be playing Mia in the adaptation of If I Stay, and Cassie in the adaptation of The Fifth Wave. Color teal, like this blanket. So warm and fuzzy, I love it.